Making candied lilacs is such a fun way to preserve this beautiful, fragrant, and actually tasty flower. It works so wonderfully for putting on any of the different cookies and cakes and cupcakes, and it actually can store for up to a year. So it's pretty impressive because we only get lilacs at my house for about 3 to 4 weeks every year, but I love it and I've found so many fun things to do with them. For doing these candied lilacs, I had to find blossoms that were mostly open, but not starting to wilt. You see there's a couple here that are starting to wilt, but by and large, it's good. And just a couple that haven't opened there. So those ones I won't be able to use, but the rest I will. And for this recipe, I do 4 clusters of lilacs. Now, since these are such tiny blossoms, it does make it so that it's a little bit tedious as you're pulling these off, but it's so much fun to have them for later. And so all you do is you pull them individually off of their stems. You don't want any of the green, just the little blossom. Any of them that are missing petals, just skip those. And of course, any that aren't open yet, skip those as well. I want to be able to have my entire batch all ready in front of me so that when I start painting these, it'll work well. It smells so good. It's so much fun to work with. I found they just pop off really easily, but it does get a little bit tedious doing this. So put on a good audiobook, have some music going, and just enjoy the fragrance. The next step is to make an egg wash. This is what makes it so that the sugar will stick to the lilac. I'll be using one of my eggs that I recently got from my chickens. I've got an olive egger now, and so it's a really fun color. Not only that, but it has spots on it, so I think that's really fun. So I'll separate out the white from the yolk. I'll be adding the white to 1 teaspoon of water. And I just crack my shell, and I keep the yolk in the shell and kind of pass it back and forth to make sure I get as much of the white out as I can. Now I'll use a fork to thoroughly mix up the whites with the water because I want it to be nice and smooth so that it's easier to paint. And that's what that water does. It makes it just a little bit thinner so that it paints on more easily. Now I'll grasp my petal from the very back because I want to be able to paint this on both the front of it and the back. So I want as much exposed as possible. And then I'll take some super fine sugar. If you can only find coarse sugar, you can always take a food processor and process it down. And I just kind of sprinkle the sugar all over it. Makes it so pretty. Okay. And so then I'll take that petal and I'll put it on some parchment paper, and then I'll do the rest the same way. So you can see that this is really a treat when you put it on some kind of a baked good because it truly is a lot of work to do all of these, but so pretty and just so much fun. And what a good way to make use of, the nature around us. You can have beautiful flowers in your yard that smell so good when you bring them in the house in a vase, but you can also utilize them in your baked goods. So multiple different things you can do even if you don't have a big garden space. And I want to make it so that there's just a single layer on the parchment paper because I don't want them to stick to each other. I want them to be able to be separate. And I'll just continue that same way. Paint my egg wash on both the back and on the front, and then sprinkle it with my sugar on both the back and the front. Shake off any excess, and I'll continue until I have my whole bowl done. Now that my tray is fully loaded, I'll allow them to sit in the open air for anywhere from 1 to 2 days. The important thing is that they get really dry because if they don't, then when I put them in my jar, they'll start to wilt. It's been 2 days and my blossoms are totally dry. So I'll collect them and put them in a small glass container. The important thing is that it be airtight. And then I'll store them in a cool, dry, dark location like my pantry.